All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Mets Weekly Podcast as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X for 2026 New York Mets spring training coverage. But before we get into all of that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel for new episodes of our show that are recorded live regularly every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time throughout spring training, even though we have been scattering them throughout the entire week. But, we go live once a week and twice a week once the season starts. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to not miss when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. For our audio listeners, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms to not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. It would be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into episode number 191 of our show. Andrew, it is you and me today. We're going to be talking about entering those final 2 weeks of spring training. We're getting very, very close. We have a fun prospect game that is on the horizon here that is going to be very fun. We're going to preview that a little bit as well. I'm coming off of the plane a few days ago from Port St. Lucie. I got the shirt to prove it here. Nice shirt, right, Matt? Nice shirt. Anyways,
from Florida,
Andrew, even though we have been very, very active on the channel recently, it's been a while since we've sat down, done a Mets Weekly podcast. So the audio listeners, you guys have not heard from us for a while. We'll get to that in a second. But Andrew, how you doing?
Good. I mean, again, it's the dog days of spring training. I mean, the WBC is definitely covered up. Watching these spring training games, where usually most years you're like, okay, the first 2 weeks, a week and a half of spring training, you're excited to watch spring training games. The WBC has sapped any interest from me watching these spring training games and, just tracking and popping in, an inning or two at a time. But overall, again, we're almost there. Again, we're a couple weeks, 2 weeks away from spring training, or next we have 13 days from spring training, maybe 12, something like that, around there. So, we're almost there, almost to single digits. And, we know our opening day starter, Freddie Peralta, Paul Skeens, Citi Field on Peacock. I mean, that's what we're counting down. And, it looks like Francisco Lindor is going to be, still lined up to return and be on the opening day roster, which is always good. So, overall, again, you're dragging your feet a little bit and just trying to get through these last 2 weeks of spring training. And thankfully, again, the WBC has been giving you plenty of entertainment and just excitement overall, at least when you're not watching Team USA. Everyone else is having, a hell of a time, and it's enjoyable. And, doing what, the good teams are doing what they're supposed to do, and the bad teams are, just there. And even we've seen some crazy upsets as well. So, overall, baseball's fun. Again, we're getting back strictly to the Mets tonight, which, again, it is what it is, and we'll see it's a different core. But again, we're still missing a few pieces in the WBC, which is, can't wait for that to end and maybe get that last week of spring training. We're like, okay, now we've got the full team ready to go, playing in, the full lineup and getting back to those times.
Yeah, and I also want to congratulate you on finally getting your internet situated. You can finally, use your computer to join the show. You can use your mic. You can use all your equipment. Yeah. So, the quality on your end will hopefully improve. And hopefully, we don't have any, clashing of audio or awful glitches or anything. We're turning over a new leaf as the leaves turn to green with spring on its way. Anyways, plenty of, stuff to obviously talk about, plenty to get into, of course. But like we said, we have been live on this channel for the past week plus. And there's a main reason as to that, and that being the WBC. And for those of you who were not here for the last episode of the podcast, or for those of you who didn't hear on audio, for those of you who are listening, you may know that we are doing live watch-along streams as well as post-game coverage for the WBC for Team USA, and it has been hosted by Evan and Matt from Mets Central. It has been a blast to do, obviously, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. But as for the next programming of that, Team USA is still in the WBC if you're not following along, and make sure to tune in tomorrow night at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time, 15 minutes before first pitch, for watch-along and post-game coverage of the WBC World Baseball Classic semifinal, Team USA versus Team Dominican Republic, live right here on the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and over on X, hosted by Evan and Matt from Mets Central Podcast. So if you want to hang with us on our non-podcast days, this is the place to be. It has been a blast to chat with you guys so far, so make sure to tune in. Team USA has their work cut out for them against Paul Skeens on the mound, against former Mets starting pitcher Luis Severino. You do not want to miss it. Once again, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Team USA versus Team Dominican Republic, WBC semifinal. We hope to see you guys there. But in the meantime, we've got plenty of stuff to talk about in terms of Mets baseball, as, again, the time is winding down before opening day. We are, to exact, 12 days away from first pitch on opening day when they face the Pirates, Freddie Peralta versus Paul Skeens. So, it's definitely starting to wind down here, and hopefully we'll get some questions on, some of these roster moves that they possibly make. We'll get some cuts that are going to be made a lot quicker. As for what is going on here, but there is something I do want to discuss, and one of the main spotlights and one of the X factors I think that we've talked about is obviously with the rotation, and a lot of that having to do with Kodai Senga, which over the last 2 seasons, it's been pretty much lost for him after such a fantastic rookie season. We've talked about possible trades for him. We've talked about the future being unknown for him. Andrew, you have expressed your displeasure a lot about him over this past offseason. And I think it's all really, really valid considering how much of a headache it has been over these past 2 seasons. However, these last 2 starts, and I'm going to just bring up his spring debut, which I was actually in attendance for, but he also was even better yesterday, which was what he pitched up against the Marlins. That was his second spring start, but the data pretty much shows pretty much the same. That has been mirroring, but I do want to show what we have been seeing from Kodai Senga, which overall has been very, very encouraging, as the ghost is back. So it's reborn. It's the repoltergeist. So in his debut, he faced 10 batters, 2 2/3 innings. I was in attendance for that. Like I just said, 3 hits, 2 earned runs. Both of those runs came off of a pair of solo shots, 2 strikeouts. Did not walk anybody, which is definitely key for Kodai Senga. 6 swings and misses. He had 50 pitches, and he was pretty much using the entire kitchen sink, because obviously in spring training you're using plenty of your weapons and you're trying to utilize things and you're adjusting to things. But noticeably, what we saw from Kodai Senga, he was sitting 96 to 97, and he topped 99 miles an hour on his fastball, which is a plus 2 miles per hour in comparison to the 2025 season, where his velocity was noticeably down. Now, this was his first appearance since being on the mound in August 31st, 2025, before he was optioned down to AAA Syracuse. And of course, over the last 2 seasons, like we said, he has pitched only 118.2 innings since the beginning of the 2024 season. He has only made 23 starts. He obviously had that shoulder injury at the beginning, that he re-injured himself when he came back in the day of his 2024 debut. He came back for the playoffs, was not as sharp, wasn't as stretched out, obviously. And then in 2025, he had that hamstring injury that pretty much derailed his entire season, which was not fantastic at all. But overall, like we said, the fastball velocity is up. He's still getting those swings. He was getting those swings and misses, which his fork ball, the ghost fork, as we know, his signature pitch, obviously grading out as a 116 stuff plus, because it is a very deadly pitch. We all know that in his rookie year, it had the highest whiff rate of any pitch among starting pitchers. So he was dominant in that sense, obviously. But again, here's the one thing that I do want to say. I think that the main takeaway of the results and everything that we are seeing from Kodai Senga right now, you don't really need to take it all completely into account. all you really need to take into account is how does he feel after every single one of these starts? How does he recover from every single one of these starts? I'm going to get into some notes about what Kodai Senga is looking at his current state. Carlos Mendoza had some comments about that. One thing I will point out, and we are going to get into him pitching on 4 days rest like a regular MLB starter, because we've always talked about that having to be such a headache. But Andrew, I'll go to you. Obviously, the amount of rest, and this is mainly because of the off day that they had in between it, the amount of rest between these two outings he just had in spring was 5 days rest. So it's every 6 days. Likely we will see him on 4 days rest in his next outing this week. I'm hoping that we do, so we can get him ready for it. But right now, I think he is definitely in a good place. Plenty of time to go. But if he is pitching like that, please stay healthy. That's all I ask. Just stay healthy, because if we could see Kodai Senga be a 3 in this rotation, boy, would we go a long way. It's a big if, though. Big if.
Yeah, because I remember the first broadcast. I left that Ron was like, they were talking about the rotation and being like, hey, they got a lot of starters. Do you compliment him and continue to do the 6-man rotation? And Ronnie's like, he hasn't earned it. Like, he just calls him out straight, which I respect. Like, again, he has not. He's lost
Cook, Ron. Cook.
He lost his right to have that ability. Again, when he was a great rookie, and then obviously injury plague, and then last year was a mirage. But going in, like, expectations from a lot of fans, including myself, were low. Like, again, I was willing just to dump this dude. Like, I've had enough, because we all know the potential is in there. It's just, one, he's never healthy, or two, it's just a mental fight with himself that he's like, well, I don't feel 100%, so I can't tough my way through. It's like these a little nagging, mental things that you don't love to see in your rotation. So he's come out in this spring, and he's looked good. I mean, again, and the main thing is he's close to 90, 99. You take that. I mean, obviously, you got to sit in 96, 97. But hell, even seeing it, and what's the main thing, which so at least from the first start, 0 walks. What was Justin Willer's main?
0 in the second, too.
In the second as well. So 0 walks. What was Willer's thesis statement? If you have good stuff, throw it in the zone. And if he can get the fastball back to work, because again, if his fastball consistently get in the zone, it helps the ghost fork, where he's not falling behind, and then he has to throw the ghost fork to get back in the counts. You don't want that. He wants to get ahead with the fastball and make the ghost pitch the put-away pitch. So the fact that now you can get him, if he can get back to this, and shout out to Tony Metro, he said on his, like, he doesn't have to be the ace anymore. We have the ace guys. If you get the ace stuff, this rotation can be one of the best in baseball. If you get Peralta, McClain, and then you can get that ace-like Senga, then you're looking at this rotation a lot better. But now he doesn't have that expectation coming into spring. And now, like you said, he's going back to pitching on 4 days rest. Hopefully, again, we get him again the next time through. On 4 days rest, there is no more accommodating to this guy. You are just one of the guys. You are not the guy anymore. So you are going to do what we tell you, or you're not going to be here, because you cried about not wanting to be traded, so we kept you. We gave you one last olive branch and say, hey, we will keep you, but there's no more accommodating. There's no more special treatment. You're just one of 5. You're not, the top guy. And if this, can get back on track, and he's been an all-star in his career, finished second in, this is a really good pitcher, and that's what infuriates me, is there is a great pitcher in there. It's just, 1, how much is he going to pitch? And 2, how often is he going to show up? Like, he was good in the first half, but the mirage of he was escaping jams like he was Houdini. Like, that wasn't sustainable enough. And then you get that second half where it all comes shocking, falling down. Or at the end of the season, he's in the minor leagues complaining about the Florida heat in September. Like, if we can get Kodai Senga back on track, that is, like, I always say the X factor of the offense is, potentially is Luis Robert and Francisco Alvarez. If Kodai Senga is maybe the biggest overall X factor, because if he can be an all-star level pitcher, even if maybe you see a little bit of regression from Nolan McClain, you still have a 1-2-3 playoff rotation that you can put up against anybody and feel confident, which was the biggest Achilles heel from last year's rotation. Now, from last year to this year, now you go from the weakness being a rotation to potentially it becoming a strength.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we know that they have a lot of pitchers. They have a lot of quantity, and possibly it could outlast the quality as of right now because some of these guys are question marks. We know that they are going into question marks. Clay Holmes is another one that is coming off of his first year as a starter. So far, he has looked very, very sharp. He looked very, very sharp in spring training last year. And, we saw, the wheels kind of come off for him, but he is definitely looking good as well. But as for overall the performance from Senga yesterday, which was during a split squad game against the Marlins, I do want to just put in a little bit of a breakdown here. I'm pretty sure it was a complete, it was 3 perfect innings or 4 perfect innings or something. He was very, very close. He had, he had 8 swings and misses. His fastball was averaging 96.5 miles an hour. He topped 99 twice in that start as well. It looks like his slider is also really, really improved with overall horizontal break and has a lot more spin on it as well. And again, it just looked very, very improved. And like I said, there were some comments from Carlos Mendoza about Kodai Senga and him going forward and the outlook for it this year. And, I really am in agreement of, like you just said, we're done with the accommodations. It's either we put up or shut up now. And it really is something that they do need to enforce here because you can't accommodate things like this, especially when you saw the effects that it had on their rotation last year with him not there at 100%. It was hanging by a thread last year with him being almost near perfect at face value, but the way that it fell apart, it was definitely a big factor. We know that Sean Manaea as well, and we'll get into Sean Manaea in a second. We know what Sean Manaea has looked like. We'll get into that. But with Kodai Senga's health, there were some comments about his ramp up following back-to-back frustrating seasons, and Carlos Mendoza did say after Senga's first spring start, he said it's his first outing. It's just good for him to get some game action, face another team, some competition, just basically get your work in. I'm pretty sure he's going to be excited. It's been a long road. It wasn't easy for him after he went down with that injury, went down to AAA. He's very professional. You got to give him credit. He put in the work this offseason, came in, and so far we've seen a different version of him as far as the intensity with the way that he's throwing the baseball. That's kind of the expectations for today. They also asked him about Senga possibly pitching every 5 days and not on 5 days of rest, but instead with 4 days of rest. He said yes, and he's open. The first conversation we had when he first reported, he's open to doing whatever the team needs, whether it's pitching on regular rest. He's always been that way. So whatever the team needs, he was very, very honest about it and just wants to contribute. Kodai Senga even talked about the routine of possibly pitching on 4 days rest, saying that I never said that I can't throw on regular rest, which I think is kind of bullshit, or or that I prefer an extra day if I'm told by the organization, hey, this is going on this day. That's what I am going to get ready for and prefer for, as long as I know beforehand. I have no issues with that, so nothing has changed. So, listen, I know that we've talked about Senga a lot, and I still do agree that, and 2 spring starts are not going to completely change this, that it takes very little to derail him. And the real reason as to why we talk about this with overall reliability, and Andrew, we have gotten into this so much. Again, it can't continue as this continues to go on. This is going to be his 4th year with the team. You can't continue to keep having an if next to his name. And I think that that's the main reason as to why there's so much question and there's so much criticism going on. It's like, well, we know how talented he is. And that's the thing. And that's the main thing that I think it's a little misconstrued, as some of the, the conversations that I have on Twitter or something, or, some of the, comments that we have gotten regarding Senga. We know how talented he is. Andrew, you have talked about it. You're like, I know how talented he is. I know how good he can be. But it's when he is available to show it, that is something he has not been able to prove over these past 2 seasons. And I don't blame anybody for wanting to move on from this, because it has been a headache to see Kodai Senga go out there every 5 days, whether it is on normal rest or whether it is being healthy, which he has not been over these past 2 seasons. So I understand being skeptical about this entire situation. However, right now, so far, I think he really is in a good place right now. And like we said, if he is healthy, and if he starts throwing the ball like this, which we have not seen for the past 2 seasons, this can 100% be a huge X factor to if this rotation swims or sinks. So again, Andrew, I mean, it's pretty much obvious what the X factor is in this rotation in terms of Senga. We also know talked about Minaya, which we'll get into Minaya in a second. But when it comes to the overall feel of Senga as of right now it does feel a little different. It does seem like he is locked in. How long will that continue? I have no idea. No clue. He's 33 years old. We know he's a veteran. We know that he was a big competitor and a proven winner in Japan. We know he's capable of it. How long will it maintain? I have no idea. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Senga is the ace of this rotation. He's going to be the ace, because right now we need him to be him. We need him to be Kodai Senga, and we need him to be available. And that's what a number 3 in a rotation does. They're available, they pitch every 5 days, and they give you innings to supply to the rotation so you don't kill the bullpen, which is something that Kodai Senga was doing over the last 2 seasons. Because it always seemed like it was, 5 and fly with him, or it was always something that, there was always something to easily derail him, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, the vibe of from Senga, there's nothing different. I mean, yes, it's great that obviously he's had a good spring, which is a good sign, especially from what the last taste of the mouth that we saw in the last season, where again he's getting sent down in the minors and complaining about the heat. So it's good that he start off and turn the page, and it's a good start. It is still spring training, and it does not matter. Yeah. So, but again, there are some positive signs. Again, the velocity kicking back up is nice to see. Again, seeing the pitch mix, seeing him dominate, throwing more in the zone and no walks, that's good stuff to see. But again, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, so Kodai Senga's back, and I'm no longer gonna, I still have high expectations for him because, again, the talent that's in there, but also you have to temper the expectation of, again, okay, he's got the talent. Like, he might go, through a rotation time one time, but it could be gets destroyed first weekend out. So I'm not changing my expectations for him. I'm hoping he performs, and if he gets back to 80% of his rookie year, you take that at the back end of your 3 or potentially back end of your rotation. Again, we'll get into Sean Manaea in a second. Obviously, I think Clay Holmes has looked phenomenal in spring, especially in the WBC as well. So, Clay Holmes was your most consistent starter as the first year as a starter again, where you saw the consistency from at least getting deeper, and again, obviously he tailed off at the end of the year, which is expected from a guy becoming a closer, a reliever back to a starter. But again, I have him kind of more of the more faith in Clay Holmes being that innings guy, where Senga is still I hope he can provide the innings, but he still has the upside compared to a Clay Holmes, where this is not just a 3. This could be a game 2 starter if who could potentially he has kind of this has showed. Again, he's been an all-star. So, again, as much as we love McLean, expect a regression to seeing the book get around on McLean, going into this season. So, if he were to have a step back, Senga has that ability to just say, you know what? Damn, McLean regressed a little bit, but it's okay because Kodai Senga bounced back, and he is now a front-end guy. So, again, nothing's going to change from this perspective of I'm now right back on the Kodai Senga bandwagon. No. Do I hope that he can keep this going? Yes, but I need to see it to believe it, and I need to believe that he can be available enough to prove that he's back.
Yeah, again, a lot to prove. And to be honest, if you were to talk about, the top of the entire rotation, or you're to talk about, how they have constructed this, obviously, I do have, faith that they will be able to be a lot better than they were last year, because as of right now, I don't think that there's many wrenches that are being thrown into it. Fingers crossed if I completely jinxed it there. But, Lane's saying, Kodai Senga's back with the Mets. And listen, he looks really, really good. The stuff looks fantastic. And hopefully he can maintain it, and hopefully he can just full on stay healthy. We know that Justin Willard has been public and said that Senga, one of the main aspects is obviously the recovery from every single start in between. And if the recovery is better, maybe he's going to be able to pitch that fourth day, every 4 days. We hope that he is able to do so, because if he can, then that brings in an entire equation. Senga, you have my attention right now. After how you look right as of right now, for the love of God, stay healthy. That's all I ask. That is all I ask. We need a pitcher to be dependable. Be out there every 5 days. And that was one thing that we were not seeing from him over these past 2 seasons. So that's what we need to see. It has absolutely nothing to do with the talent. Nothing. Absolutely nothing to do with the talent. In context of what has been going on for the last 2 seasons, that's the main reason as to why we talked about possibly moving on from him, because it was just such a shitty situation that we had to handle in order to get probably not even the best out of him. Because he really was not fantastic last year. His stuff definitely regressed. But if we're back to this level, I like it. I like it. Just stay on the field. That's all I ask. Tony adding in the chat saying that Senga said he spent the winter meditating with the Buddhas on his body and mind. I don't know if that's completely correct. I don't know if that's accurate. But if it works, it works. It's only crazy if it doesn't work, as we all like to say with either it's overall superstitions or overall rituals. If it works, it works. But either way, a little bit into this rotation, and then we can get into the spring breakout game, which I definitely want to get into. But when it comes to, obviously other things in this rotation, and I'm sure that we're going to, talk about it a little bit, going down the line, I think that we'll get probably a little bit more specific on it maybe next week if we see another start like this. But Sean Manaea, this is bad. This is really, really bad. Granted, I will say that the overall shape of his pitches is pretty much the same as it was either last year or if you're talking about it from the first year that he was here. But we are seeing a huge velocity drop. We are seeing him struggle to top 90 miles an hour. He was talked about his velocity dip after that start that he had, which was not very, very sharp whatsoever. He was also losing a lot of command of his pitches. Secondary stuff was all over the place. But after that start, he did an interview. He said he's not concerned about the velocity drop. But the one thing that does concern me here, and this was reported from Anthony DiComo of MLB.com, he said that Manaea said that, I'll be back to that 92, 93 based on the adrenaline from my first start, which, and Andrew, that's the same look I had. Listen, if we're relying on adrenaline to go 92, 93, and listen, I know that the arm slot is a little bit different. We've talked a little bit about, if that had a factor in him getting banged up last year. But again, it does not look fantastic. I will say, again, like I said, the overall shape of his pitches, it's pretty much the same characteristics, but he definitely does need a little bit of the velocity. He can't just be relying on the overall deception and the overall arm slot that he has from the left side. He does need to be hitting at least 92 to 93, especially with the overall shape and that angle that he throws at. And we all know, he also is incorporating the changeup a little bit more. Here's the thing. I don't know if you agree with this, but I get that, we don't see that much of a velocity jump, and maybe we do see the velocity come back. We saw this with Edwin Diaz last year, where his velocity was down in spring. The first outing that he had in Houston, the opening series last year, first outing in Houston, touching 99, he was fine with ease. Of course, the relief pitcher, he's not a starter. The thing is about Manaea is that the main concern that I have is because, yes, you are seeing a velocity drop, but you're also seeing a velocity drop from the velocity drop from last year as of right now. Because last year he was not throwing as hard. We know that maybe it had something to do with, the loose chips in his elbow that he did not get the procedure on. Maybe it had to be with the fact that he was not fully ramped up. We don't really know. However, we have had an entire offseason in between that, and we're still seeing either not only just the velocity drop, but drop from the velocity drop. So again, I really was holding my breath at that site of that outing he had yesterday, because it seemed like he wasn't able to command the zone, and also he was not throwing hard whatsoever. And when you are throwing 90 miles an hour and can't control the ball, good luck. I mean, you're not going to get anything. If you cannot throw strikes with 90 miles an hour, you're in trouble. And I was holding my breath. I'm saying, oh, well, I would not be surprised if we get a notification tomorrow about something with Sean Manaea. Because even though Manaea was not fantastic in his first spring outing, he was at least being able to throw strikes. But when he wasn't getting the pitches over at 90 miles an hour, that's a little bit concerning. And Brandon in New York saying, I'm extremely worried. I got to be honest, it is definitely troubling here. It really is, especially after coming off of a season that has not been kind to him whatsoever. He was injured for a majority of it. He comes back, and he was one of the main factors as to why this team had that downward spiral, because of him not being able to go deep into games, and he also just was not effective whatsoever in comparison to 2024. So, Andrew, I mean, I think that there is very, because of last year, there is definitely a valid reasoning to be concerned about this. I'm going to let it play out to a point where, maybe we can get a little bit of a consistent sample size, and maybe there's a possibility that, he's able to throw a little bit harder or anything. But it doesn't seem like we have had an upward spike from Sean Manaea for a while. I feel like ever since those comments at the end of the postseason in 2024, when he said, my arm just gave out, I just don't think it has been the same ever since.
Yeah, and obviously we talk about the loose bodies like in his elbow, and the fact that he just doesn't get the surgery. Him being like, oh, it's fine, it's going to, you just get it done. Because now...
Yeah.
It also, and what I hate, it gives them a built-in excuse of being like, well, maybe if I get the bodies built up, you're seeing the velocity dip a second time, and again, this is so unpopular. So you can't be throwing less than 90 miles an hour in the MLB. Yes, you can watch the WBC and you see some of these guys, the Czech Republic dude throwing 66, striking out Shohei Ohtani. That's an outlier. And again, that's one start. He's making the stuff. So. And I guess if there is a positive spin to take this, Manaea is not needed to be a front-end starter. Hell, in best-case scenario, he's your 5. Which, again, everyone will... And it's going to be, people will bring up, he's making $25 million. So look overall what the market is for pitching. That's what 4s and 5s get paid now. And obviously, you only have 1 year left, going into year 2 of year 3. Still got 1 more year of it left on the deal. So it is concerning, and the fact that, again, he's not even hitting 90, and against a bad Cardinals team that is terrible, and you're seeing the results that he, again, and it's spring training results. It's the same thing about Senga. Spring training results don't matter. You just like the process, and you want, obviously, the nerds can go look at the data and the stuff, metrics, and that's all they care about. The actual results, they don't care. It don't matter. You want to just see, some positive, at least signs stuff-wise, and, how does it look? If he was working on stuff, how does the new pitches, if you're like in Jonah Tong's case, how's the new pitches grade? I think that's what's the importance of spring training. But the fact that you're not even getting the 90, and then you're your only, last ditch effort is, oh, I need adrenaline and it'll be back to 92. I mean, sure, but like it's still only 92. And again,
well, from his shape and from his
slot,
release
yes,
height, yes, that's very effective.
It's effective, yes,
again,
but
yeah. But again, yes, and from the left side, of course, because he was doing very good at actually getting right-handed hitters out when he was here last year, in comparison to left-handed hitters, who it seemed like he was really leaving a lot of stuff over the plate. But again, continue with that. But 6 swings and misses, 2 fastball whiffs in that start. His velocity down 2.9 miles an hour, so about 3 ticks. In comparison to last year's yearly average, which was well lower than it was in 2024 as well. Again, like I said, the overall shape did not change whatsoever. It's pretty much the same. 11 inches of induced vertical break on his fastball, obviously from that arm angle. 14 on a yearly average in horizontal break. 13 that he averaged, on his fastball. In that start, he had actually more horizontal break on his sweeper, which was actually pretty impressive, mainly because he's probably using the changeup a little bit more. And then also he had more horizontal break on his changeup as well. He threw like a cutter and a sinker in there, but that was pretty much those 3 pitches is what he was throwing. The spin mainly pretty much the same, a little bit lower, but again, that probably more just comes up with perceived velocity. But again, the shape of the stuff is still there, but we just need to see the velocity jump up. And when we're seeing, below 90 miles an hour, averaging 88.8 miles an hour from the left side, obviously from that certain arm angle, yes, but there still is guys who can catch up to it. And again, like we said, we're seeing the half and half with that. We're seeing the half and half with that because he did get a decent amount of swings and misses, to be honest, in that game that he pitched yesterday. But again, we're also seeing a decent amount of hard contact because he was really, really struggling to command the zone. So again, that is something that we're going to have to keep our eye on. If we see it again in his next start, which is likely going to be one more start this spring, that's definitely going to be something that we're going to keep our eye on, and we're probably going to talk about a little bit more in depth in overall just everything that is just in comparison to what we have been seeing this spring. It just seems like he's not able to put it all together. However, again, a called strike and whiff percentage on that start that he just had, 34%, which is really, really good. And like I said, the pieces are there, but the velocity is definitely a concern. And like we said, from that arm slot, Justin Willard specifically talked about Sean Manaea, of how he was kind of over-pressing that arm angle. He had an arm angle of, 22 degrees in 2024. In 2025, it was brought down to, it was 16. So again, he was definitely pressing on it. 2024, 22 degree arm angle. 2025, a 16 degree arm angle, which likely was putting a wear down on his elbow as to why. But we all know he's going into his mid-30s. I'm pretty sure he's 34 years old here. And in that start that he had, the arm angle still was a little too low. It still was a little low. I'm pretty sure it was still like 19 degrees in comparison. So it's a little bit in the middle. And hopefully they can find a way to where they find that sweet spot again, because the swing and miss stuff was 100% there. He wasn't walking anybody, but it just seems like, that extra perceived velocity that he needs from, that hip rotation that he worked on in Driveline. Like he just has not been finding it since he came back from injury last year. And we hope that we start to see that come back. And it sucks because if you don't, that's 22 million to the luxury tax that you are paying him this year and next year, which again, it 100% is concerning, and I'm hoping that we see it clear up. Hopefully it is better this next start. Maybe it's better during the regular season. But if we do have a Sean Manaea issue, we will have a Sean Manaea issue. Some people in the chat right now, somebody mentioned, Manaea. Yeah, let's see. Somebody said Manaea in the chat. I'm trying to pop it up. Someone was mentioning Manaea. We have a lot about that certain infielder who has really, really been struggling, and we'll get into him. But as for the WBC right now, Acuna leadoff home run, 1-0 Venezuela over Japan. So we'll see. Japan is considered one of the favorites in this. So if they go down,
and Yamamoto is on the mound.
Yeah, Yamamoto. Anyways. Either way, let's find out what else we can get into here, and that being, of course, the spring breakout rosters, which were just announced over this past week. The Mets will be playing the Rays. It is going to be a night game, and it will be on the 19th, so it is going to be Thursday. Which, again, the Mets, we all know that their farm system has definitely built up over these past few years, and it's been very, very impressive to see a lot of the young talent get promoted a lot. And last year, it was a plethora of promotions for a lot of their top prospects, and not to mention a lot of these guys who were unranked as well, who were very, very impressive. For this farm system. The farm system had a great year, and we're going to get to see it on display going into 2026. And I do want to get into this roster and break it down a little bit, because there is a lot of talent and a lot of great years that a lot of these guys are coming off of that maybe you can put your eye on as somebody that maybe could contribute at the high level, or maybe you see him in the major leagues. But as for this overall roster, there's plenty of names on here, and we'll get into Juan. We start off with the pitchers. Juan Arnaud, right-handed pitcher, 22-year-old reliever prospect out of the Dominican Republic. You have Channing Austin, who is a 24-year-old minor league reliever, undrafted free agent in 2024, coming off a really good year. Haas Brewer, 25-year-old minor league reliever, undrafted free agent last year. And then you also have left-handed pitcher Nicholas Sereno, who is a 19-year-old flamethrower from the left side. He was actually acquired by the Mets from Pittsburgh for left-handed pitcher Josh Walker. Anybody remember Josh Walker? During the Josh Balker, as we actually like to call him, during the 2024 trade deadline. Saul Garcia, right-handed pitcher, 22-year-old reliever prospect, broke out last season. Brendan Gurton, former 10th round pick by the Mets in 2024, their 30th overall ranked prospect via pipeline. Christopher Gomez, 22-year-old minor league reliever, international signing back in 2022 out of the Dominican Republic. RJ Gordon, former 13th round pick by the Mets back in 2024, their 20th overall ranked prospect. Nathan Hall, right-handed pitcher, 6th round pick by the Mets last year, their 28th overall ranked prospect via pipeline. Noah Hall as well. I don't know if those two are related, but right-handed pitcher, former 7th round pick by the Mets back in 2023. Peter Cuso, one guy that I'm really, really excited for, 4th round pick by the Mets last year, 19-year-old big right-hander, their 23rd overall ranked prospect. And then, of course, one of the guys who has had quite a spotlight on him, Ryan Lambert, right-handed pitcher, former 8th round pick by the Mets back in 2024, their 18th ranked prospect, who has been very explosive and dominant in big league camp so far. Cameron Loman, right-handed pitcher, 8th round pick by the Mets back in 2024, their 27th ranked prospect. Douglas Orellana, right-handed pitcher, 23-year-old hard-throwing reliever prospect. International signing back in 2021 out of Venezuela. Jonathan Pintaro, right-handed pitcher, 28-year-old, former independent league swingman, currently on the Mets 40-man roster, their 22nd ranked prospect. Dylan Ross, right-handed pitcher. He's also currently on the 40-man roster, former 13th round pick by the Mets back in 2022. Hard-throwing reliever prospect. Jonathan Santucci, the southpaw, former second-round pick by the Mets back in 2024 out of Duke, their 10th ranked prospect via pipeline. You also have Ben Simon, right-handed pitcher, former 13th round pick by the Mets in 2023. Reliever prospect coming off a huge breakout season last year in the lower levels. You also have Zach Thornton, who I actually have a read down about, who made his spring debut. We'll get into that in a second. Former 5th round pick by the Mets back in 2023. Their 15th ranked overall prospect. You have Cam Tilley, a former 7th round pick by the Mets last year out of Auburn. You have Will Watson, right-handed pitcher, former 7th round pick back in 2024, their 11th ranked prospect, also coming off of a breakout year. You have Jack Wenninger, who we've seen a decent amount in spring so far, former 6th round pick by the Mets back in 2023, their 7th ranked prospect. Then you get to the catchers. Davison Gutierrez, a 23-year-old international signing back in 2023 out of Venezuela. You have Chris Suaro, who is a 22-year-old catching utility man who can also play first base and in left field and right field. Their 16th ranked prospect. You have Julio Zejas, who is a 20-year-old international signing back in 2023 out of the Dominican Republic. You get to the infielders. Junior Amparo, he is a utility man, 19-year-old international signing last year out of the Dominican Republic. Ryan Clifford, we all know him by now. He's a first baseman, outfielder, acquired from Houston back in 2023 for the Justin Verlander trade. They're currently their 5th ranked overall prospect. Randy Guzman, an infielder, outfielder, mainly a first baseman. 20-year-old first baseman and outfielder, former international signing back in 2022 out of the Dominican Republic. You have Jonathan Henriquez. That is quite a name, isn't it? 21-year-old utility infielder, former international signing by the Mets back in 2022 out of the Dominican Republic. You have Antonio Jimenez, shortstop, 3rd round pick by the Mets last year, currently their 17th ranked prospect. Ilian Pena, big one right here, shortstop, 18-year-old international signing back last year out of the Dominican Republic to a record-breaking $6.5 million signing bonus. Their 9th ranked prospect as of right now via pipeline. You have Jacob Reimer, a guy that there has been a lot of eyes on. Former 4th round pick by the Mets back in 2022. Their 6th ranked prospect at this current moment. DeAndre Smith, former 5th round pick by the Mets back in 2022. Trey Snyder, shortstop, former 4th round pick by the Mets back in 2024. Marco Vargas, infielder, 20-year-old middle infielder acquired by the Mets from Miami back in 2023 as a part of the David Robertson trade, if you guys remember that. And then there's Mitch Voigt, who is regularly a second baseman. Maybe he can play a little bit of outfield with his athleticism. He's a 1st-round pick by the Mets last year. Their 8th overall ranked prospect. And then finally, the outfielders. A.J. Ewing has been impressing all spring so far. Was great tonight as well. Former 4th-round pick by the Mets back in 2023. Former compensation pick for Jacob deGrom, if you did not know that. Their 4th overall ranked prospect via pipeline. You have Edward Lantigua, who is an outfielder, 19-year-old former international signing back in 2024 out of the Dominican Republic. You have Nick Morabito, an outfielder, former 2nd-round pick by the Mets back in 2022. Their 13th ranked prospect, who actually is right now playing for Team Italy still in the WBC. And then you have Eli Serrano III, who is also an outfielder, corner outfielder, former 4th-round pick by the Mets back in 2024. Currently their 14th ranked prospect. Oh my God, that is a lot. I listed off a lot. Andrew, did you enjoy that? Because I sure didn't. Either way, Andrew, you are definitely a prospect guy. I know you're a big minor league baseball guy. Obviously, this is always exciting. I love that, when, during spring training, we get to see something like this. I'm glad that MLB added something like this. Obviously, we are not seeing Carson Bench in this game. He is not even on the roster because he's a big league camp. They want him to make the big league roster. Obviously, he is getting a chance as their first round pick 2 years ago. But obviously some of these guys on this list, who do you have your eye on? What are you excited for? Obviously, because again, the Mets farm system is on a different level than it was maybe 2-3 years ago. It has definitely been quite the sight, especially last year. Their minor league system, man, it took quite a shot up, and it had a fantastic year from top to bottom.
Yeah, and then especially if the rumors are true that MLB is potentially thinking about, and this is obviously the big question mark, if there's even a Major League Baseball season next year or ever in the future, or this is just the last year of ever seeing Major League Baseball with a lockout, potentially turning this into a tournament, which that would be an absolute juggernaut of a weekend where they just make a big old knockout round, all the prospects, and kind of like a WBC type where like you have your Florida bracket, your Arizona bracket, winners meet up in like maybe it's Houston or maybe somewhere in between to get this started. So I guess that's a future discussion. We're talking about this one this year. Again, like you said, no Carson Bench, which is, interesting because Connor Griffin is going to be in Pittsburgh, so obviously he's going to make the Major League roster coming opening day, but yet you got Connor Griffin there for Pittsburgh, but yet Carson Bench is not on the Met one. Doesn't really matter. Again, for me, the guys that I'm looking forward to, obviously, is just the first time being able to get data and I'd be able to watch him. It's Elian Pena because he's the biggest wild card in this system where we see guys that go to, the complex league and rake, and then once you get to actual instructional ball, can be, you can be the next Jesus Mate or you can be the next, there's a bunch of guys that I could bring up, but for right now, of course, my brain wants to go blank right now as I'm looking for an example. But there are a lot of guys that you see like, that they sign internationally, that go to DSL, and you're like, put up these crazy numbers, and like, okay, this is the next superstar young prospect. And then once they get to Major League Ball, it's obviously a different instruction. But again, him being so young and being one of the the highest paid highest paid in the signing period was definitely a good thing, which has been a difference in Stearns compared to Epler and past regimes where he's gone, I'm picking the big guy and then building a rest, where the Mets previously went quantity over quality. Mitch Voigt's another one, obviously first round pick last year.
Oh yeah,
he played in Port St. Lucie. He see the speed, so again he did play in today's game against the Astros, but again see some more to seeing him get some ABs. Pitching side, again obviously Ryan Lambert's been the spring training hero that is, that he could potentially be a potential high leverage option potentially in the second half of the year. And Douglas Oriana, I love you just absolutely butchered that name, but again,
okay. Hey, I'm not here for my reading skills.
We know we all got that reading tism. It's okay, but again, potentially he's like the Dominican Ryan Lambert in a few years. We're looking at this guy coming into spring training. Maybe next year, potentially 2 years from now, where you're looking at, okay, who the hell is this guy throwing 100 out of the bullpens? Potentially that could be your big surprise. But again, and obviously you talk about spring training guys, Chris Suero, playing in the WBC exhibition game, homering in big league camp. But again, he's being able to play catcher in the outfield. Again, especially with David Stearns is continuing to preach value, bringing value to the team, flexibility, and being versatile. Hell, to have a backup catcher potentially can play 5 innings behind the plate and then go the rest of the game, put him in center field. That's a game piece, Dalton Varsho type piece where you'd love to have that. Any manager would love to be able to potentially have 3 catchers if need be on your roster at all times is always a benefit. So you look at obviously Jacob Reimer as well, another big guy who's has turned some heads in spring training. Obviously Clifford, again, him being the bigger guys. But again, my thing is more of the international guys that have been brought in that you don't really see is what you want to watch in this game. And we saw it last year and the year before. We're like, okay, Brandon Sproat. Obviously, it was the first time we saw Brandon Sproat got data. The first one of these where it was like, oh, who the hell is Brandon Sproat? And this stuff's insane. Obviously, McLean was last year's darling with Jonah Tong against the National. Tong was the Nationals, and McLean was the first one, right? It was right at the year's drafted, right?
McLean pitched in the first one.
Yeah.
Tong started
Tong was
the
against
second
the
one.
against the Nationals.
Yeah.
So, but again,
Yeah.
that's kind of the whole. We're seeing Major League data on these guys that you don't have data to is like kind of that whole. Okay, so he was good, but then now you have the data behind it. Like, oh, who the heck? This dude's a demon. Like, and you'd love to see that. So again, we could always talk about the big, first round picks and the big prospects. But again, for me, it's seeing the international guys that like, oh, they kill it in DSL, but like, well, there's really nothing. I mean, it's a league. In quotations,
Yeah.
it really is. It's just summer ball in the Dominican Republic. So again, Elian Pena just being that kind of wild card of like this could be the next super prospect that is in this system. And Stearns outright said it at this last press conference. It's like, yeah, this is going to be the norm now. Every spring training, you're going to have superstar type prospects, and that's what he wants to do. And again, Pena could be the next one. Potentially Wandy Sagan, maybe 2 years from now, continuing to and obviously other first, pretending to draft in the first round, even though it gets pushed back. But again, seeing what this is from Stearns and seeing the prospect depth compared to, oh, we just have one or two guys we got to watch out. But now you're looking at this roster, and you're like, half of this roster is straight up demons, and you're like, okay, we're in a good spot. And hell, we traded guys at the deadline. We dumped guys in the offseason. We dumped guys at the deadline. And the farm system is still one of the top in baseball, just like the Dodgers, just like now the Tigers have their potentially. Well, obviously the Tigers are different, but the Dodgers, the main being the what we want to be. Well, the Dodgers continue, even though maybe their prospects are overrated, just because of who they play for. They always seem to have that general perception around them, the league that they have guys, but yet they never really play. So it's kind of interesting. But they have the perception of being good, where the Mets want to give opportunities to these young guys and let them grow and have them be free for 6 years. And maybe you give them Braves extension, and that's the benefit of how you want to build the team, not just for this year and everyone complaining about, well, the Mets only have a bunch of 1 year, 2 year deals. Okay. This is why, because Stearns wants to do it this way. Will he hopefully, he's done it once, so obviously he's going to continue to add pieces externally for agency and trades. And the benefit of having that farm system, you can make those trades as well as spend money in free agency.
Yeah, again, and this is just like the first wave of it. Again, we're just starting it off, but we are definitely on the cusp of something special being built here, of a pipeline of guys just continuing to develop guys to where you see some of the homegrown guys maybe walk in free agency, such as we saw this offseason, and maybe there's somebody else left. Maybe there's somebody else left in the system that you're like, oh, wait, maybe he can make some noise. Maybe we can ease him in here. Yeah, Elian Pena is one that you definitely can put a big spotlight on, especially with how young he is, obviously. He was playing in the Dominican Summer League, did not play that. I mean, he played a decent amount. I mean, he played a short season. He started off his professional career, I think, 0 for
18?
0 for 29 or something like that. He finished his year slashing .292, .421 on-base percentage from a 17-year-old, .528 slugging percentage, and a 146 weighted runs created. Plus, he also stole 21 bases, drove in 33 runs, and 9 home runs. So again, you're really, really starting to see a different breach of talent of guys. Again, a lot of these guys aren't just helium pieces anymore. And what I really, really like about what the Mets have been doing in this farm system, and we're going to get into a lot of this next week too, praying that we have a special guest on here that could help us break this down. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But we also, again, when you look at the Mets minor league system and a lot of the minor league position players, obviously we knew the pitching was going to be there. David Stearns has had a specialty with that coming up with Milwaukee. That has been one of his main things of building a pipeline of pitchers overall. But again, when you look at the position player of things, obviously you still, maybe you kind of feel, like of the type of players that he liked in Milwaukee. They're probably not like the biggest of prototype of, well, this is going to be a 5-tool star. But he also has signed a lot of those guys who turned out to be stars. Jackson Churio is one that we can definitely point out. And to be honest, you only really need one. You only need to find one to build around the team as a young player. And maybe a guy like Elian Pena can be that. It's going to be a while. We know his estimated debut time is like 2030. So we're not going to sit here and jump the gun and say that he's the franchise guy, but having those types of options is definitely big. And what I see from this overall, and you do have a little bit of the mixture of the overall offensive-minded guys, but when you look at the position players just strictly from Pipeline, like let me pull up Pipeline right now. If you look at the types of players that they have been bringing in, it's a lot different in comparison to a lot of these guys that they were drafting earlier before. And I've been talking about this a lot on this show. I've talked about it a lot in our group chat with a lot of the other creators, where we have a lot of these players that don't need to give you a 900 OPS to be a full-on contributor to the roster at the major league level or overall in their skill set as a player. We obviously know they have to pan out as a player. Some guys don't adjust to the major leagues, and some guys just flop. It happens. But as for the overall skill set of these guys, they don't need to be world beaters offensively to give you that overall value. They're great base runners. They're great defenders. They have great arms out in the outfield. We're seeing it with a lot of guys like AJ Ewing. AJ Ewing swept 70 bags last year in the minor leagues across two levels. You have Carson Benj, who they expect to give you a lot of different tools, and he does a lot of things over above average. We know he's a former pitcher, strong arm in the corners there. And those are the types of things in the margins that the Mets have definitely been missing. And we also saw a lot of that at the emphasis at the higher level when the Mets didn't have that yet. Remember when they brought in Tyrone Taylor, Harrison Bader, a lot of these guys that do these things in the margins, and that's one thing that the Mets have definitely been lacking. They'll have their star power. They have their Francisco Lindor. They have their Juan Soto. They have those guys that can give you all this star power and be prolific at the plate. However, you're missing another piece of those guys who can definitely contribute to this team without giving you a 900 OPS, without giving you a insane 53 home run season in their rookie year, without giving you, a batting title, or giving you, a just overall 100% offensive value. And if they don't hit, they can't do anything. Mark Vientos, I'm looking at you. That is the type of player that they used to draft. Brett Beatty, I'm looking at you. The overcompensation of a lot of these players where they're like, well, we did not draft correctly. We should have took Corbin Carroll in this draft. And instead, we end up with Brett Beatty, who, well, he can play the outfield maybe. We know he can play the outfield and we gotta cheer him on, encourage him. These guys have natural abilities in the outfield, natural abilities on the base pass, natural abilities of getting on base where every single that they hit can be turned into a double and they can move right into scoring position no matter what. And they can create things with their legs. They can create outs with their arms. I mean, there's so many different things that you can see from a lot of these players. Mitch Voit is another one, like we just said. Mitch Voit, outstanding athlete. Can play second base for you. Maybe they try him out in the outfield, but you can see those types of abilities and those types of traits with these players that maybe, guys like Ewing and guys like Benj or guys like Voit, you can move them around at those positions because you know that they have the overall athletic capability to where they can play it. And instead of, well, we'll put Mark Vientos maybe in left field. Because, we need his bat in the lineup. We'll put him in the left field. Same thing goes for Beatty. We'll put Beatty in the outfield even though he's never played it before. We'll do that. You want me to go farther? I can go farther. Dominic Smith. Let's put him out there in left field. Why not? Let's do that. Jeff McNeil, even though he should not be playing every single position, let's put him out there because we need his bat out there. JD Davis. You want to continue with this? I can go on forever. Even though he's... even though he moves like a duck completely, he's got a strong enough arm. Let's put him out there. Let's put him. You want me to keep going? I can keep going. Lucas Duda. We need his bat in the lineup. I can keep going with this. We continue. Remember Daniel Murphy. He could play left field. Why not? We'll do that. We'll put him in left field as well. I can go on and on. And now we're starting to see a mentality within this organization now of guys that are like, oh well, they have the ability to play these positions. And when they have the ability to play these positions, they can contribute to this major league roster without giving you insane, dominant seasons offensively, which are not easy to come by. With these overall abilities that you have that are strengths of guys like Benj, guys like Voit, Guys like, Morabito, who I didn't even mention, AJ Ewing. Those guys have very natural abilities, and they don't have to develop anything. Nothing has to be developed at the major league level for them because they have those certain tools. When you look at guys like Mark Vientos, he don't run. He can't play defense. He can't really do any of those things. I mean, some people will tell me Brett Beatty can do all of that, but he can't. Ronnie Mauricio, who the hell knows? I mean, Alvarez is a little bit different because, of course, that's catching. But you look at the difference in between the guys that they used to draft and the guys that they draft now. There's a lot more of an optimal look in this organization. And yes, we do still have these guys who will have to hit to contribute if they want to be here at the major league level. However, you still do need a little bit of that balance. Ryan Clifford, one of those guys who likely needs to hit in order to contribute at the major league level. Jacob Reimer definitely can hit, and we know that he needs to hit in order to contribute at the major league level. They still have guys like that. However, when you're looking at the overall depth, a lot of these guys, a lot of them right now that you're seeing listed are very, very optimal players. And that's what I really, really like about what they are developing here, because you don't have overall expectation of them giving you a 900 OPS or giving you MVP numbers. You have an expectation of them coming in here and helping you win. Those are the guys I like to call gravy bats. Everything they do offensively with their bat is gravy because they have so many God-given abilities that they can go out there and help you win games. And that's the main reason as to why we like guys like Tyrone Taylor, right? Tyrone Taylor doesn't need to hit to contribute to this team. He doesn't need to hit. And I'm not saying you need an entire team of this, but you need players like this to help you win, especially when you're talking about defensively, where the shift has gone away and you need a lot of athleticism now these days. It's very, very important. Andrew, I mean, this is basically the whole takeaway that I have from this farm system now. You're seeing a lot more of optimal players who have these abilities, who have these traits to where they don't need to have a Mark Vientos 2024. They don't need to have a Pete Alonso 2019. They don't need to have a Jeff McNeil 2019. They don't have to have a Michael Conforto 2017. Like, we can continue to go on with this of offensive performances where they've had to just basically blow them out of the water. But instead, in overall value with these guys, they can do everything with their actual God-given abilities that they have and their overall traits that you can't teach. As much as we talked about, with Brandon Nimmo, he got better defensively for a little bit. He still didn't have that, full-on ability. We all knew that his best offense was, his overall hit tool. We knew. It's just one of those things where we don't need to overcompensate for abilities that these prospects don't have. And that's another reason as to why I think the Mets player development failed so much over this past decade or two. It just has not been in a full, complete circle. You've had some gems, but it never pushes it to the next level because a lot of these guys were limited pieces. And we saw it on the field. A lot of these guys in that last core, like we said, no attention to detail. Hopefully we get that from this stage of the farm system, this generation of prospects. And I really do feel good about that possibly happening.
Yeah, it's a different approach. I completely agree with this. Yes, they're very higher value players. That's what they are looking for. Again, you still need to match. You need some matchers. I can't have a bunch of noodles. And
you have them.
Well,
and you have them.
You have one.
Clifford. You have Clifford. Yeah. You have Reimer, right? Yeah. You got Reimer.
But again, it's corner
dude,
guys.
you haven't shut up about Reimer. You have Chris Suaro, who has hit very, very well. Like, again, you still have him, but you also have more well-rounded players that actually pay attention to detail and like have that ability, and where you're not overall overcompensating for all these guys. They're like, oh, well, this guy can play third base. He can play this. He's been okay here,
It's just again we're caring way too much about defense. Just hit fat nukes and be done. Like we're caring way too much.
Well, okay.
We are caring way too much.
Would you like me to get? Would you like to give me an actual analysis, or are you just gonna?
No,
we're just gonna continue. Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where, and you have Tony in here saying Voit is gonna be a star, and again, if that bat is, if you figure out what that bat, again, you can find value in it. And if these guys don't work out, again, it's disposable. You have so many of these young guys. If you build up depth, who knows who pans out and who knows that doesn't. This entire list of pipeline right here, not all 30 of them are going to pan out.
No.
Not all 30 of them will. But when you have depth of guys who have impressed as much as they have, I mean, you can go down the list. Every single one of them had breakout years last year. With David Stearns here in the full swing. Pentry saying in the chat, weren't we one of the worst player development organizations in baseball until Stearns got here? We were. We definitely were. And, again, I think that a lot of people didn't have that much patience in regards to David Stearns, but they were trying to build this from the ground up because the things that were at the top were part of the old regime, which was not winning regime. So, again, it's going to take time. It's not completely finished yet, but you're really, really starting to see that first flow of the pipeline, and hopefully, we get to see that a little bit on display this week when the Mets play the Rays prospects at Clover Park, 7 o'clock, first pitch, and it will be the spring breakout game, which I think is definitely going to be 100% exciting. Yep. Leave my Brett Beatty at your goddamn mouth. No. Let's see. Yes. I was told that Ohtani homered. Yeah. Ohtani. So he punched right back to Acuna. Okay. So we've got ourselves a game.
Matt was glazing how far it went. It was just right center field. It got in the first. The first level about 10 rows.
And then Gleyber Torres doubled in to give Venezuela the lead. Once again, not the best outing so far from Yamamoto. Ranger Suarez laboring a little bit, so I guess we'll keep a close eye on that game. But as for other performances, if there's anything else you want to add before we move on, but
it's kind of funny that they are playing the Rays, and it's like they're doing what the Rays do, but yet. Yeah, it was a first row bat. It wasn't a no doubt. When he hits it in the second deck, that's a no doubt. That was just a solid homer. It was fine. Whatever. Besides the point. It's funny they're playing the Rays.
If Witt did the same thing, you would get a video of it carved.
Well, here's the
inside of your
difference.
ass.
Japan again. This proves to the point. Ohtani's a slugger. To get a moonshot, it needs to be a moonshot. That was just an average home run for Ohtani. Bobby Witt Jr. is not a homer. He's a value guy. If he would have hit that homer, it's different. Back to the point of they're playing Tampa Bay. That is what they are very similar type of players of what Tampa Bay drafts and looks and develops. But yet you look at Tampa Bay, again, they're not the most they have fallen off a little bit of player development. Yes, you get your junior Camaneros and you still have your guys, but that type is fading, at least from Tampa Bay's perspective. So again, it has its value. You still need to. You need to see more slugging as you have your Cliffords and Weimers.
Because
I need more nukes with the defense. I can't have slap hitters.
Because Tampa Bay has a player like Juan Soto on their team.
Yeah, it's called Junior Caminero
on their team.
Junior Caminero.
They have players like that. See, this is what I mean. You have resources from all angles. We can do what the Rays do in player development, and we can do what the Dodgers do in overall spending.
To the Dodgers, they don't use young players.
You can have it all.
No young trade them all. I don't care. Trade them all.
You can have it all.
Trade them all.
Have it all.
Nah.
You have it all. You have the wealthiest owner in all of baseball. Go nuts.
Well,
anyways,
so trade them all. Trade all these.
Speaking
little
of, with the overall, feel of performances, and we can incorporate the WBC because that's definitely been the front stage, obviously, of this past week, and for good reason because it has been some really, really, really fun baseball we've been seeing in the WBC. But it's time for studs and duds. One player that was very, very good this past week or since our last episode, and one player that has not been great. I've got plenty of guys because I was able to see them closely. Like I said, it was in Port St. Lucie. It was really, really fun. I saw 3 games in 3 days in a row. I got to see the Yankees game, where I got pretty ferociously sunburned, but I'm okay now. And then, I got to see them in, Jupiter, to see them play the Cardinals. And then the final game was a late night game with the Marlins, which the Mets completely shut them out. I was 3-0 in PSL. I don't think they have won since I have left PSL. Have they? I have no clue.
They won today and they won yesterday, I believe.
They won today?
No, they lost.
They
today.
didn't win today.
They won yesterday.
They lost today. Yeah, exactly.
They won today. So there you go. Here's your win.
Yep. Sorry. I couldn't be there forever. Anyways, Andrew, some studs this week. Again, you can go off the WBC. You can go off of performance on the field. Whatever your heart desires. Go ahead.
I mean, again, I'm going to stick to the WBC because, again, are we really watching these spring training games, or are we actually watching the games that really matter? So I'll stick to strictly the WBC. And a guy that, again, who is very up and down and hopefully is not murdered by mid-May because of, usage, Huskar Brazamon's look pretty good in the WBC for Team Dominican Republic. Like, that is something that, like, yes, he's not in the A group anymore, thankfully. Like, he's in the B group with the bullpen, like we say on the show. But he's looked pretty good, and that's the problem with Brazamon is you just don't murder him. Because, like, it's obviously Mendoza lately, like in April, the problem with him is just being overworked. Like, if he's not overworked, he's a fine reliever. Like, yes, is he going to blow your socks off? No. But you need more of these guys that are just productive relievers, because we saw what happens when you don't have productive relievers and guys like Ryan Helsley and Reed Garrett in the second half. Especially you see guys when they're overworked in the second half, and you see the splits from first half to second half. So, again, Brazamon's look good for Team DR. Obviously there's another guy on the DR team that looks pretty good in a Met uniform, which you could say if not. But again, definitely seeing Brazamon had some success. Strike out the side though against Venezuela was the last time I believe he pitched, so he struck out the side versus Venezuela, which is good to see. So that's a really good lineup. So to see that kind of for success for a guy who again is pretty much guaranteed a bullpen spot because he's out of minor league option. So to be on that opening day,
he has one.
He still has one. He's still got one more. Damn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But besides the point, again, being that kind of top end of the B team of the relievers, again, he showed and he can be a good reliever. Just please don't kill him by mid-May.
Yeah, that would be very, very nice. Again, if I were going off of the WBC, and also I will get into some of these guys in these spring training games, but obviously Clay Holmes had a fantastic outing against Great Britain in the second game of the qualifying round. It's kind of funny because he was likely the second best performing pitcher throughout the entire qualifiers, and they sent him home because they couldn't find the good amount of innings for him in long relief, which is fucking hilarious because we have seen guys like Keller and Spire have multiple awful outings already out of the bullpen, and he came out of the bullpen that time. But he was dominant. 3 scoreless innings. What was it? 6 strikeouts. He just was completely rolling. His velocity is way up, which, I mean, insane. If you get a guy like Clay Holmes sitting 94, 95, topping 97 the way that he has been, and then he also had a really, really good outing yesterday coming back from the WBC. And he was pretty good for that, so hopefully he gets fully stretched out. We know that he was definitely ahead of schedule in comparison to a lot of the other starters because of the WBC. But again, he showed the dog out there. He showed dog for the nation, and then he came right back out here, and yeah, that was it. And speaking of Clay Holmes, there was a video on TikTok that went around of people who were like, "Oh, who is this?" He was like in the West Palm Beach airport.
Okay.
And he was a very tall guy, a big head of hair, and he had a big Mets bag. I'm like, yeah, that's Clay Holmes. That's Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes was in the airport right there. They sent him home after that dog of a start this dog of an outing that he had. Crazy, man. Crazy. But again, if you can get something like that from Clay Holmes, and if you can, see a little bit of a leap in comparison to what he was doing last year, He's definitely he so far in spring is looking like he's pitching with a lot more conviction, which is 100% huge. As for some other guys that we can list here, Jacob Reimer has had a phenomenal spring. Again, we are going to get into him a little bit more next week when we talk about the overall recap of these prospects, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they can offer. But he's been swinging the bat fairly well, and not only has he been showing off a decent amount of his overall, like just not raw power, but overall hitting ability, it doesn't seem like he has had a bad AB yet this spring. He's walking a lot. He's putting the ball in play. He has just been doing everything that we expected, and we know that he's likely going to either start in AA or AAA. Another guy you can look out for who possibly could be an offensive weapon for this team, and I'm really, really hoping that we see something from him because, again, that kid can hit. He 100% can hit, and he, again, as of right now, I think he's ranked 4th right now via Pipeline. I know that he's been in, fringe top 10 recently, but he's definitely taken a massive leap. But either way, also, I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to Zach Thornton, do a little rundown on him, because we did have a spring debut from Zach Thornton, who, again, former 5th-round pick by the Mets out of Grand Canyon University. Obviously, with him pitching at high altitude, they were like, hey, you know what? Maybe when he gets to lower altitude, he'll start pitching well, and he 100% did. Last year, a 1.98 earned run average across 14 starts, split across High A Brooklyn and Double A Binghamton last season. He was one of the 12 starters at all minor league levels with a walks per 9 under 2 and a home runs per 9 under 1 in 2025. He was that dominant. He's 24 years old. Like we said, he can throw the kitchen sink. Solid fastball from the left side that sits about 93 to 94. He can top 95. He has a very, very effective cutter and overall a very, very effective slider as well. He's a good contact manager. He was getting a decent amount of swings and misses as well. Just another one of these arms to look out for from the left side. Could this be from the left side a replacement for a certain left-handed pitcher that we have going into free agency after this year? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to find out. Either way, some duds. Andrew, I think I know what direction that you're going to go in, and I 100% wholeheartedly agree with you, and I think a lot of people in the chat would as well. So duds for this week, and maybe probably the entire spring, because it's been rough.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh. His number, as a tweet comes up that gives me his numbers, that he is 1 for 17 in Grapefruit League, and went 0 for 4 again today. And that is Mark Vientos. Like, the fact that this guy is probably penciled in to make this roster, while, again, going back to the tangent you did earlier, like, he doesn't do anything. Where, like, the DH position for me, in my eyes, is Polanco. Again, and we'll see, obviously, he's going to play some first base. But in my eyes, it's probably 60% Polanco, and then maybe 40% you want to revolve other guys and move around, sure. But the fact that he is coming to camp, knowing that he's out of minor league options, he has to make this team, or you DFA him for nothing, which, again, why all offseason I would have just dumped him for literally anything. Where, like, again, where I wanted him dumped for Robert more than even Acuna, because at least Acuna had the option. You could just stick him down in Syracuse and keep him being a little person down there, but at least he has the option and had the valuability that he could play other positions, at least play defense. So he's coming to camp. He left for the WBC, didn't do anything in the WBC.
Yeah.
And now he's come back, 0 for 4, whatever. And this dude is just, what does he do? Like, he had a great playoff run, which we will never forget. But the fact that it's not even like, oh, you could have sell high, which you could have, obviously, which there were, from reports from other fan bases, potential trades that happen, but that's more fan perspective than reality. But to now where you're at, where he's out of options, he doesn't have a position, he's not hitting. Like, if he's hitting, he's fine. He can just be the DH. But he ain't hitting. and you're going to lose him for nothing, or which I hope happened, which I had an article saved by MLB Trade Values about all the guys who are out of minor league options on other teams, where I cannot wait to see like a trade where it's a 1-for-1 for potentially like a middle infield utility guy. And that's just to get something for him, because he cannot be on this roster. Like, he is atrocious right now. The book got around fast, and the book is about 50 hamburgers deep to show how this guy cannot hit in the major leagues right now. So the fact that you're going to potentially lose him for nothing, from the peaks that happened in 2024 to the absolute decline and just absolute fall from grace from this guy, is pathetic in an extent. To this is pathetic to this point. But again, and the fact that he's going to probably make this team and not earn it one bit, where potentially you're going to lose a guy like Mike Tauchman or potentially other guys who've had good springs, who have better offensive and better career trajectories, because you want to keep a Mark Vientos on the roster, and lose a guy like that is going to be pathetic.
Yeah, listen, I am not here to completely destroy Vientos to a complete T, but I mean, the clock is ticking here, and it really is showing what his value is to this roster. When it gets to a point where I can't defend him over Brett Beatty, you know that it's getting very, very bad, because we all know my relationship with Brett Beatty. We're the best of friends, but with Vientos, I mean, they asked Carlos Mendoza about their plan for Vientos for the rest of spring training, and he talked about it's more just about him getting more reps defensively, which, to be honest, I don't even want to see. And he said offensively he's in a good place, which, when we're talking about from the results wise and what we have been seeing so far in spring, and again, it's spring training, we're not completely overreacting to it. But when it comes off of a year where he just looked completely lost for a majority of that season, it is a little bit concerning. And I retweeted that on Twitter and kind of threw some cold water on it, because I get what he was saying. Technically, he's right. Given the batted ball data that he has had this spring, he has been hitting the ball hard. He has been, giving you the good quality of contact. However, the lack of the results continue to be this self-inflicted issue for him, given his lack of adjustments that it seems like he does not have, the care to give attention to, and that sounds a lot very, very familiar to a guy that we used to have named JD Davis. He had a great year in 2019, completely broke out after, Houston tossed him aside in a throw-in trade. We bring him in. He has a fantastic year offensively, not great at third base whatsoever, can't run the bases, can't do any of these things. Strong arm at third base, maybe, which is probably what keeps him there if he hits. And what happened after that? He just was never really the same afterwards. And, when it came to Mark Vientos, it just continues to be, like we said, whether the book is out on him or not, he's really struggling against the breaking ball. His swing decisions and overall are just not great. He's whiffing at a lot of things down the middle as well. And not to mention, a lot of the pitches that are pullable, he's not pulling. And he's not able to maximize that overall power. And yes, he has a lot of pop. He really does. And he can use the opposite field in order to do so. But a lot of these swings have looked, lazy swings. And with him being so naturally powerful the way that he is, you're getting these types of, batted ball data numbers of, him being top 10% in quality of contact and top 10% in exit velocities, top 10% in hard hit rate. However, again, there still is faults to where the adjustments that he does not make, it costs him in the end that it doesn't even matter what his StatCast looked like. And that was the same thing with JD Davis. Andrew, we talked about this all the time with JD Davis. Oh, he hits the ball hard. We had the red circles on Baseball Savant, but we still weren't getting those adjustments. We still weren't getting those results because he still had holes in his game. He wasn't able to pull fastballs. He wasn't able to hit a decent amount of fastballs. He was getting completely annihilated by breaking pitches. They figured out how to get him out, as to where whenever he got a pitch that he liked, he didn't know what to do with him, because, he was continuing to just continue to struggle. And now we're seeing the same thing with Mark Vientos. If he doesn't hit, he's the worst player in all of baseball. And the fact that we are seeing him with no minor league options left, you're putting a microphone in his face saying, yeah, man, I'm not worried about the results, I'm not worried about... You should be worried, Mark. You should be worried. Because after coming off of this season that he had, and like I said, the overcompensating, like I said with everybody in this minor league system, the overcompensating for players when they don't hit, they don't do anything else. Mark Vientos is a perfect example of that. Perfect example of that. And I feel like at this point, after 2024, he just got really comfortable. I feel like he just got a little too comfortable. I just don't like what I'm seeing whatsoever. It doesn't matter if the batted ball data is there. We know how naturally powerful he is. We know the kid can hit. He's not hitting. Pitchers know how to expose him now. Is he going to make adjustments to those adjustments? We haven't seen him. We really have not seen him. Because if he does hit, he's a valuable piece to this lineup. He's a great DH. But he's not providing you anything else. Pantrice in the chat saying, not only is he not hitting, he's not even competitive at the plate. Not hitting the ball hard, which he is hitting the ball hard because he's naturally powerful, but a lot of these swings have not been good, so I understand if you don't believe that he's not hitting the ball hard. That makes sense, again, within context. He says not taking walks, he's flailing at breaking balls. And, it does go to the point of, like I said, it does go to the point of, shout out to Keith from Shea and Sons, who was actually on Till Mets Do Us Part with our guys. Ibby, I think Ibby was only hosting there. He was talking about, Keith said, he was like, well, I didn't want to see Mark Vientos go to the WBC. He shouldn't have went to the WBC. Yeah. Because he needed to play like he had a chip on his shoulder and focus on what his position was in the organization. As much as I am not a fan of Brett Beatty, he was outplayed by Brett Beatty. And some will say from the left side of the plate in small samples, he was outplayed by Ronnie Mauricio last year offensively. And what exactly does Mark Vientos have if he doesn't have his bat? Nothing. Beatty at least has somewhat of ability to be serviceable defensively. Maybe swipe a few bases, put the ball in play. There's still a lot of holes in that. Again, I'm not big on it. Same goes for Ronnie Mauricio, who, again, hit tool is definitely his biggest weakness, but his power is his main tool. He has plus power, great raw power. What are his weaknesses? Andrew? Everything else. Everything else.
Tool to make a Major League Baseball player. I'm trying to find
every other tool in the shed.
I'm trying to find the article of the guys that are out of options just to potentially see who could be a flip option. Because again, I'd rather do that than just lose him for nothing because it's just him being out of option. And keeps right. Again, look at even
they're going to give him a chance. Yeah. They are going to give him a chance.
And look at even
but the leash has to be short. We can't be riding high off of 2024. It's not 2024 anymore. It just isn't. We're done. We're done with that. Though I feel like he's still stuck in 2024. And for some reason, I don't know why for somebody who was so passed over as a player before he had that breakout in 2024, you'd think that he would be hungry to continue, and we're just not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. And I hope he hits, because when he does hit, we saw what he did in 2024. But if he doesn't, what else is he doing? You can't bench him because he'll just clog up the bench. You can't have a 5-man bench anymore. So, I mean, it's just, it's something of, it comes to a crossroads here of what can he provide for this team. And like I said, the lack of attention to detail, the lack of the style of scouting of these guys who have to hit for, a lot of these prospects who have to hit in order to be good and give you anything. Those times are moving. They really are moving. And I would not be surprised if Mark Vientos does not last throughout the entire season. Would not be surprised. I don't give a shit if he has 4 years of control or not, or 3 years of control. 2024 is over. Grimace is gone. Jose Iglesias is gone. The Rally Rat is gone. The Rizzler, whatever you want to say, all the gimmicks, the playoff pumpkin, whatever, that's gone. That's done. 2 years later, it is time to move on. It is time to move forward, and if that doesn't include Mark Vientos, so be it, because he's just not the type of player that a winning roster has if he doesn't hit. Off to you.
Yeah, I finally got I found the list of potential guys, all the guys that are out of options on other teams. It's bleak. Like, there are not, like, and I'm just looking strictly for a bench bat that gives you the up the middle versatility, the kind of like, again, like that's a little bit better than Vidal Brujan and guys like that. You're looking at like Edward Julian, obviously Vidal Brujan is on this list. Again, he's in this conversation as well. Like, could you potentially, like, the most at least interesting name on this list that potentially could you get the Guardians, a guy like Gabriel Arias? Like, that's at least a good defender, right-handed bat. Like, that's like the only guy you're looking at this list. Like, obviously just looking for specifically a bench option. Obviously there's plenty of pitchers on this list, but like, like a potential backup shortstop, but that could potentially play some second base. Again, we're still under the assumption that Lindor is going to be here. But like, these are the potential options that are going to be what you get. Because again, Arias was still 83rd percentile in OAA, three OAA at shortstop. Like, he's got great bat speed. He just never can hit consistently. He murders the Royals, which I know. I see it firsthand. He doesn't hit against anyone but Kansas City. He absolutely rakes against the Royals. But again, like, he's another good defender. But at least it's the complete opposite of a guy like Mark Vientos that gives you value on this team.
Some of the comments that I do want to highlight about Vientos before we move on here. Brandon saying in the chat, feels like we're watching Vientos fight quicksand right now. How long is the leash if he keeps this up? Another 0 for today, including a bases loaded double play. Yes, and I did see that. Pench Racing, we have a huge Mark Vientos problem, especially if he makes the opening day roster. He has not done anything at the plate right this spring. Nothing. It is 100% true, and when it continues to pile up, who knows how long. And listen, I want to see the guy hit. I really want to see the guy hit because I know what he is capable of offensively. We saw it in 2024, but he's going to have to make those adjustments in order to show that. And if he's not, you can't be wasting so much time with this. You just can't. You can't hold on to him. You can't hold on to him as long as they had with guys like JD Davis, guys like Dom Smith. Like, they can't hold on to him that long. It can't happen. You have to pull the plug at some point. I don't care what he did in 2024. I really don't. That's not relevant to me anymore. The Mets showed that they didn't care what Jose Iglesias did in 2024 by kicking his ass out in 2025. This is a new year, new look, and I'm not going to sit here and watch these players like, again, prolific hitters, these need for prolific hitters. I'm not going to sit here and watch them just rot on this roster because it completely destroys the flexibility of the roster and it just clogs everything up. Brandon's saying right here, I mean, he can't be a defensive replacement. He can't come in to pinch run. He's at only a Hail Mary at the plate as a pinch hitter. This team needs his roster spot. It's true. 100% true. Some other duds that I do want to point out. Obviously, we talked about Shamanaya. He hasn't looked sharp whatsoever. Ryan Clifford. It's been a little bit of a struggle for him this spring. Let's just say that. He's had a few decent swings, but it just has not been fantastic for him. I think he's actually looked better defensively than offensively so far. At first base, and they also put him in the outfield a few times as well. Like we said, we already talked about Vientos. I think it's been very, very half and half with Ronnie Mauricio. I think he's had a few miscues as well on the base pass. Decent little bit of chasing as well. Again, we know that Mauricio has talent. We know that he has ability. We know that there was a high ceiling at one point. But it could be very possible. Could be very possible that the time that he lost is not something he can get back. It's possible. And again, we talk about it before. I was very high on Ronnie Mauricio. Still am. I want him to break out so bad. But, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. We know that he's going to start off in AAA. He has that option left. And hopefully we start to see, him, make up for that lost time. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. And again, it'll just be another one that bites the dust of the old regimes of these guys that they brought in that, are guys that just, have these deficiencies. And like we said, it's one of those things where, if a guy is a good prospect or not, it doesn't just mean, the type of hitter that they are, the overall player that they are, listen, I want Ronnie to break out. I would love for him to be the third baseman of the future for this team because I think he's a great defensive third baseman, but there still is a lot, still rough around the edges and not much time left. Really not much time left, I can tell you right now, because again, he was signed to this organization, 16, 17 years old. Mm-hmm. He is now, 24, 25. He's getting up there. It's, it's do or die now. It's shops at Walmart. Listen, it's been, again, it's a rough journey for him, but, cuts need to be made. If cuts need to be made, they need to be made. We'll see what happens. I expect him to start off in AAA. But again, if we need to see it. We know he's capable of it.
I'd throw Bo in this conversation for at least dud wise, but I haven't seen him. Defensively, he's made a few plays, which is fine. The bat kind of just I mean, positive wise, Polos looked good the last week. Like that is something that is.
He looked good out of the gate.
He's looked but now you're starting to see the results.
He's looked good out of the gate. Like even just like BP, like live BP against other some of our best pitchers. He was destroying the baseball against them. He looked really good.
I think the other duds, like Weaver was pretty solid. Williams has been really good. After the JJ homer, he's been really good. I mean, Lambert, again, another shutout inning. I want to put that in the positive.
Is it too late is it too early to propose?
Yes, because you have to have an egg with it. If you get that, that. You had to drink eggs, which I ain't drinking eggs.
What if I put the ring in an eggshell? Does that work?
Maybe. I mean, anybody of the every day. I mean, Robert has looked fine. I mean, good to finally see him and get into games. So, again, it is what it is. Beatty's hit a couple doubles. Like, everyone's, had a solid spring besides, Vientos. Vientos is, the only obvious guy that's just, oh, he's just been horrible. They're just, everyone just had some good ABs, had some extra base hits. Good defense. Mike Talkman has been really freaking good, which, again, why I want him over Vientos. If you're telling me I have to have a bat off the bench, I get it. Vientos right-handed, Talkman left-handed. How many outfielders are you going to carry if Benj and Tyrone Taylor plus the two other starters? So, I understand. But if you're telling me would I'd rather have DH Mike Talkman or Mark Vientos, I'd rather just keep Talkman's bat. Because at least I know what the floor of that bat is. Where, the floor of Vientos is a bum, where the ceiling can be really good, the floor is a bum. So I'd rather just have what I know with Mike Talkman, who is a just league average at worst hitter, who's going to draw walks and hit 8 and 9 in the lineup, but will get on base in front of guys like Soto and Lindor at the bottom of the lineup when he changes the lineup up, and he's going to be on first or second. And if you're telling me I'm taking a bat first player, I'll take the older veteran that knows what he's doing compared to this dude that just couldn't hit water if he fell out of an ocean.
Fell out of an ocean?
Just fell out the ocean. Now he doesn't even have a boat.
Fell in an ocean?
No, he doesn't even. He's not even on a boat. Okay. He's just he's just sitting
fell
there.
Out of an ocean. He's that bad that he knows how to fall out of an ocean.
He's literally he's in the center of the world because
the ocean rejected him. Is what you're saying?
Exactly. Just swipe left on him. It's crazy.
I don't know why I laughed so hard at that, but whatever. Yeah, but anyways, another guy that has looked really, really good this spring, I just want to shout out Tyrone Taylor. Great spring for him, by the way. He's looked really, really, really good. And then we also know what the abilities that he gives you. Again, like we said, doesn't have to hit to be very, very good. Either way, overall, to wrap up this week in spring training, we've got our rapid fire stories, which are no longer a video. I'm going to make them into a graphic. because, again, it just seems a little bit more optimal for us to figure that out in that way with rapid fire stories. But let me just get into everything that we saw, and then we will yap our way out of here. Either way, we had lots of news over this past week. Dylan Ross, Jonathan Pintaro, and Nick Morabito have been optioned to AAA Syracuse in the latest round of cuts. All three of those players are currently on the Mets 40-man roster. We also saw Nate Lavender and Jack Wenninger get reassigned to minor league camp. Lavender was returned to the Mets from Tampa as a Rule 5 pick last year, and he underwent surgery, came back. Jack Wenninger, obviously the Mets' 7th overall ranked prospect. We will get to definitely see maybe a little bit from him in the in the spring breakout game. Chris Suaro, like we already mentioned, coming up for the prospect game as well. He's been reassigned to minor league camp. He's a catcher, infielder. He's currently the Mets' 6th overall ranked prospect via pipeline. He posted a 140 weighted runs created plus with Brooklyn and Binghamton in 2024, so a big breakout year for him. Jonah Tong was optioned down to AAA Syracuse. 22-year-old. He made his major league debut at the end of August last year. Struggled a little bit, but he came out a huge breakout season, split across AA and AAA, was one of the best, if not the best, minor league pitcher in all of the league. We also had some unfortunate news about Robert Stock. He is undergoing thoracic outlet surgery on his right shoulder. He signed with the Mets on a minor league contract during the offseason for a second stint with the organization, where he was here for 2021 when everybody got hurt, and then he also got hurt. So likely we are not going to be seeing Robert Stock for a while, who actually was performing well, and his stuff was well more improved. But in overall comparison, it looked promising, but he ended up getting hurt. Francisco Lindor, somebody asked about that in the chat. Lane here saying, what is the news on Lindor? Well, we'll tell you right now. He took a 20-pitch live BP yesterday versus AJ Minter. He had a ground rule double to straightaway center as a right-handed hitter. And he is on schedule to be ready for opening day, and it seems like, he's going to be playing in minor league games over the next week, and maybe he does end up, in some spring training games towards those last few days, but overall, it seems like he is definitely on track to return for opening day. Carlos Beltran, legendary Mets outfielder, number 15, will be retired into the rafters at Citi Field this year. The date is still to be determined. Obviously, Beltran will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame for class of 2026 this year. And he was originally supposed to be inducted into the Mets Hall of Fame along with, I think it was Lee Mazzilli and Bobby Valentine, I believe, this year. Yeah. I don't know if that's correct. But they are doing it separate now. For him, and he's going to get his number retired, number 15, into the rafters. And then former Met, for a second, Julio Teheran has retired from baseball. He made one start for the Mets on April 8th, 2024 against the Braves. It did not go well. He obviously pitched 13 seasons in the major leagues, split across with the Braves, which was his longest tenure. The Angels, he was with the Tigers, then he was with Milwaukee across 13 seasons. And then we also got some news today that I had to add in here. Justin Hagenman has been placed on the 60-day injured list due to a rib fracture. He posted a 4.56 earned run average across 23.2 innings pitched last season for the Mets. He signed with the Mets on a minor league contract last offseason as a former 23rd round pick by the Dodgers back in the 2018 MLB draft. He was with the Dodgers organization and the Red Sox organization. And as the corresponding move, he's back. Richard Lovelady has been reclaimed off of waivers from Washington as the corresponding move to move Hageman to the 60-day IL, as he is not occupying a spot on the 40-man roster. The 30-year-old posted a 6.3 .0 earned run average across 10 innings pitched for the Mets last season. He was designated for assignment before spring training this year after re-signing with the Mets on a 1-year, $1 million deal. So he is back. Richard Lovelady, we just can't escape this guy whatsoever. Welcome back. I mean, to be honest, it's actually funny at this point, to be honest. Like, I get we can be mad about it and everything, but it really is, like, I feel like we've reached the parallel of Jesse Chavez coming back for the Braves over and over and over again. That's how many times I feel like Richard Lovelady has been.
But at least Jesse
DFA'd,
Chavez is good.
Re-signed, reclaimed. Jesse Chavez was good at one point. Richard Lovelady had a few decent years when he was with Kansas City, but again, into the closing Yap session, as we said, we can't escape this guy. We just can't whatsoever. But one thing I do want to point out, obviously, like we said with Francisco Lindor, he was batting from the right side. He's a natural right-handed hitter, as we all know. He struggled from the right side, and that had a lot to do with probably the hamate bone fracture because, again, he was resting his bottom hand, which was his left hand, which is what he had surgery in, and he was definitely struggling with from the right side last year. He was definitely not up to his standards as a right-handed hitter. So to see him already in live BP take swings as a right-handed hitter, it's a good sign. I don't know if he's looked completely comfortable. We saw a video of the 20-pitch live AB, but he's definitely ramping up. We all expect him to likely struggle to start the year. I think we all do. I don't think any of us are expecting him to be an MVP caliber player at the very, very beginning, game one, because of the surgery. But we'll see how it does affect him. But, to see him drive the ball like that after a surgery that we knew that was likely going to affect his power, he's definitely going to feel it from that right side. So, it was an interesting detail that, if you are following this team, you would know that it was on his left hand. And we know that the hamate bone injury affected his left hand, and especially from that left side. Right side of the plate. So, hopefully he does get back. I'm not expecting him to be the world beater or the amazing player. I feel like there's going to be a transition period into him, fully recovering from this surgery. But, great to have him back. We all know that everybody loves him in that clubhouse now. So great to see him there. And he also has been on Instagram giving his reactions to the WBC as well, which have actually been really hilarious to watch. I don't know if you've been seeing this, Andrew, but he's been reacting a lot to with Puerto Rico winning. Unfortunately, Puerto Rico lost today to Italy, almost staged the comeback there in the late innings, but it was just too much. Italy has been on fire, and they are 5-0 going into the semifinal. But Lindor, I mean, sucks that he wasn't able to play. No Javi Baez because of weed. And then Correa, for some reason, doesn't want to play anymore, even though he played the Mets today. He was playing that spring training game. Could have used him.
Yeah, I love being carried by Martin Maldonado in the big 2026 offensively. Yep. And Christian Vasquez as well, because the corpse that is Nolan Arenado for some reason is on my team and doing nothing. Lindor, it's cool. I do want to cut a promo here because I have a problem with the Mets team. Mostly not even the team, mostly just Steve Cohen and the department of the planning shit out. Put the damn full promo schedule out. Every other team has their promo schedule.
You've been seething on that for 2 hours.
Ever.
I can tell.
Every team has their promo schedule from opening day to the last game of the season out. But what did the New York Mets do? Oh, wait 50 years. I think they wait till the second game of spring training. Oh, let's at least put the promo schedule out. Like, okay, cool.
Well, they're working on Richard Lovelady merch.
Exactly. Shut up. I could think of some great ideas for merchandise on that one, but people are trying to plan vacations. And the fact that I still don't know when Carlos Beltran weekend is, and the fact that once he was going to be in the Mets Hall of Fame, now you were going to retire the number.
That was what was holding it up, to be honest.
What, ripping the jersey off Tyrone Taylor? That's not that hard to do. I mean,
the
fact that Cameron Maben, Devin Marrero, Danny Mendick, Brian Dozier and Guillermo Heredia are going to have the numbered retired because, of course, the New York Mets and, pre-Cohen just throwing that jersey around like, a $2 steak. The fact that those guys' jersey numbers are going to be retired. And yes, I PG'd it because there's a different word. I gave you a PG.
$2 steak. That's funny. That was good.
But I guess back to getting to Cohen. Pick a fucking date. I'm trying to plan a vacation to go to New York and to go to some games. And I swear to God, I know exactly what you're doing because I've already looked at the schedule and they've only gone up to June. If it's going to be in July, I swear to God, if you do that Dodgers series, which is the week before the trade deadline, and you make it again, I've already come up to watch the Dodgers, and those tickets were already expensive enough, and now you're going to add Beltron weekend. I swear to God, if you make it that Dodgers series, I think it's July 25th that weekend, piss off. But get the damn date announced so I can, figure out what my hotel is going to cost, what my flight will cost, because I'm going to be in the building for Beltron weekend. But I'm tired of waiting and say, when the hell am I going to New York? Well, I don't know. Cohen just has to get off his ass and stop, sharing and tweeting and going to Knicks games. Pick a damn date and get it set up so I can go to the damn Met game. I'd like to go to Met games, but can you pick a damn date already? Jesus.
He's going to Knicks. That's true. He is going to a lot of Knicks games. We always see him at the Knicks games. But, listen, he's wealthy enough to do it, so he can go there.
So he's wealthy enough to hire a guy to pick a date. This isn't rocket science. Let's do Beltron weekend. This one. Okay, cool. Put it on a graphic. Make the little bobblehead and whatever.
So with Carlos Beltran getting his number retired, Tyrone Taylor's going to have to look for a new number.
Different number.
And again, like we said, he was 12 and 15 for Milwaukee back when he was with Milwaukee. We all know that 12 is occupied by Francisco Lindor. So, what number does he take? I guess we'll see. What would he take?
Did anyone take 9?
Is anyone 9?
8?
I don't know if anyone.
I would take maybe 8 or 9. 13?
No one's taken 8.
13's
I don't think
Terrence.
anybody's taken 8 for a while.
Yeah, Terrence is 8. Oh, it's retired.
Terrence is 3, right?
3. I thought it was 13. Oh, let's Google this.
13. No, he's 13.
Yeah. So, obviously 12 is Lindor.
I think 8's kind of a sensitive subject, to be honest, because of Gary Carter.
Yeah.
I think since he passed away, I don't think anybody's worn 8.
So yeah, 13's Terrence. Senga moved to 6. Yeah, the fact that Hayden Sender's got a single-digit number is kind of pathetic. Mauricio's 11. Brujan as of now has 2.
Well, it was 6 for his rank in Whole Foods sales.
Yes, damn 6. That's pathetic if you're 6 in Whole Foods. I mean, MJ's got 1, so I mean it'll probably be a 20-something because obviously Jared Young, who I thought was JPR and Chibi. Shout out to my buddy. I literally said, "Hey, get his autograph."
Yeah, no, Carlos Baerga wore number 8. But what I'm saying is, since Carter passed away, no one has worn 8. I don't think so. Yeah, they should retire 8 because they have Doc and Daryl up there. You got to have the 2 captains with Mauricio is number 0. So yeah, he can't take number 0.
Could 14 maybe? I don't know. He can go to 14. Nobody's wearing 14.
14.
Yeah, nobody's actively wearing 14 right now. So maybe
no one is wearing 14.
It's in the middle of 12 and 15.
Be able to do that
because 13's Terrence. Bo's got 19.
To be honest, I think he should just keep 15. To be honest, who cares? He kind of just
you can't. It could be a center. Okay,
I think he's kind of better than Beltran.
Here, you want another tangent about this number thing? The fact that how many center fielders have worn 15 that are just 1-2 bums. Again, you couldn't even keep the trend going to say, okay, if you're wearing this number, again, you could do it where in Dallas it's 88. You could wear it as a receiver.
Taylor should wear 15.5.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe we
but
could do that.
The fact that Cameron Maybin, the renaissance that is Brian Dozier, wore that number. Yeah. I mean, thanks Cohen. Thanks Cohen. Thanks Wilpons. Just handing that around. But
who has worn 15? We can go through the database, right?
I went through it. I went through at least the recent history. Yeah. Obviously, it was Grody's number first, and then
it was Grody first, and he had a few decent years with the team too. Let's see. You had number 15. Number 15, Grody wore it for a decent amount of years. George Foster had it, one of their worst free agent signings in history. I think when towards the end, because I think he gave it away he gave, what was it? What was his number? I don't know.
Valentino Pascucci. Oh my God, that's a name and a. Oh, that's dark. That's dark.
Travis
Literally,
Travis
the same
15.
year. Damn, you know the Wilpons were so petty. They gave that number right away to Vinty Pascucci, whatever the hell his name is. Valentino
Pascucci.
Fred
Lewis.
Who the hell is Fred Lewis? That is not a real player.
Fred Lewis was up here for like 3 games.
Who is that?
Matt Reynolds?
My Facebook friend?
Your Facebook friend? When did Luis Guillorme have 15?
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot I saw him was on. What year was that? That's what, 2018. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Matt Franco had for a decent amount of years.
Danny Mendick. That's
was
just
the
fact that
late 90s.
Danny Mendick's out here wearing my number is crazy. That is,
one other thing that we need to just listen. We'll touch on it, but again, I don't think this needs that much talk. Juan Soto's comments after that mercy rule home run that he had. He talked about it saying, 2019, 2024, I really enjoyed being on those teams. They were really, really fun, but this team is great. And obviously everybody had to dissect it and say, well, he didn't like being the Mets. He really hates being here. Who the hell would have liked being on the 2025 Mets? That team stunk. Like, legitimately, I agree with him. They stunk. You're telling me he needs to be grateful that the 2025 Mets existed? I'm not grateful they existed. None of us are. He didn't enjoy a 4-month nosedive into a grave to end the season. He didn't enjoy that?
It's just a simple...
How dare he? Be grateful, Juan. How dare you? What the hell, man?
He's like every human being. When you're winning, it's fun. When you're losing, it's like getting constantly punched below the belt. No one likes getting punched below the belt daily. And that team got punched below the belt daily in 2024. So the fact that everyone's losing their damn mind.
Yeah.
He likes to win, like most people. Addicted to winning. Yeah. Like, some guys would just take the contract and get fat. Like Mo Vaughn. He doesn't want to get fat. He's getting more athletic, and he's trying to win. He's not just...
Yeah, that nice little swipe, that little swipe slide he had last night, that was pretty nice.
He stole El Mago's
flow. He's still swiping
flow.
bags, too, so was it Anton Richardson, or was Juan Soto just there all along? Was he just there all along, mentally, as a winner?
Again,
and speaking of that collapse, I need to bring up this one final thing. I need to bring up the collapse from last year. This graphic that SNY put out here, like, so funny. The best part,
Tong is a child.
Is Tong as the child, obviously, because he is like 20. He was 21 years old.
Look at Cheeto Bear's neck. Holy hell! Look at that giraffe
Cheeto
looking
Bear
ass.
Here. I don't know why Ryan
Stanek is there.
Why did Ryan Stanek make this graphic? I have no idea.
Jeff McNeil's angry.
Diaz.
Jeff McNeil's very angry.
But
wait a minute. Whoa. I find the first. No, you're missing the biggest red flag of this graphic. Juan Soto's smiling. That's Photoshop.
What?
He's smiling in a meta helmet.
No, he's not smiling. He's in pain, I think.
Oh, he's cheesing his butt
grimacing.
cheeks. Okay, he's
yeah. Yeah. He's holding his anus. No.
Whoa.
But you see this roller coaster here, but like, let's look at the numbers here, right here. And I said on Twitter earlier today, I said the fact that people look at that roller coaster of a season after all these years, and they still wanted to retain this group of players, like that historic vomit show didn't happen. It's still astonishing to me. Astonishing. How? How did you want to bring that back after what you just saw, after all that money that was invested into it? Unreal. How? That is a reality I don't want to live in, and if you do, you're insane. Just insane. Yeah, whatever. Two Cats saying Juan Soto hates playing for Japan. That's because he does not play for Japan. Yeah, true. 100%. Yeah. Jeff mid throwing a helmet, of course. Of course, 100%. Yeah. And saying the Grand Canyon wasn't even a big enough dive to describe the Mets. Yeah, 100%. Listen, I 100% agree. But other than that, we are going to wrap it up here. One more time, one more reminder. Make sure to tune in tomorrow night, 15 minutes before first pitch. That is 7:45 for watch-along and post-game coverage of the World Baseball Classic semifinal, Team USA versus Team Dominican Republic, live right here on the Mets Weekly YouTube channel and over on X, hosted by Evan and Matt from the Mets Central podcast. So if you want to hang with us on our non-podcast days, this is the place to be. It has been a blast to chat with you guys so far and watch these games live and just chill with everyone. Crack a few jokes. Cracking a lot of jokes if you're Andrew. So make sure to tune in. Team USA has their work cut out for them against Paul Skeens on the mound, against former Met starting pitcher Luis Severino as our host, our lead commentator, our lead play-by-play guy says in the chat, tune in. That would be awesome. So yeah, you don't want to miss it. Once again, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. USA versus Team Dominican Republic, WBC semifinal. We hope to see you guys there. Parting words here towards the end. Andrew, anything else you want to put out there? Do you want to rant about any other stuff, any other promo schedules for the Cardinals? Because I know that you go to the Cardinals stuff too sometimes. Maybe the Royals or whatever.
You want to talk about promo schedule? Holy Royals. Holy shit, the Royals promo schedule was great. Also, giving out maybe the greatest bobblehead I've ever seen. It is, incoming Matt comment. It is a Bobby Witt Jr. bobblehead for 4th of July, where he's got a tank top on, a red, white, and blue tank top, and a bald eagle on his shoulder with a bat, and then obviously a bunch of stolen bases. And I'm like, that is the greatest bobblehead ever. Again, and they give out bobbleheads on Monday. Like, shout out to the Royals promo schedule. Absolutely amazing. So let's get back to the Mets here. Okay. I mean, yeah, because this is actually my set. This is my time to play. I got to just say everything as my mic breaks again. That's great. But yeah, overall, again, we're that close. We got a final for the WBC on Tuesday, and the next time that we are live, hopefully we have a guest, as well as we'll be breaking down the spring breakout game, because that's obviously on Thursday. So we're gonna be live on the Friday. So we will have the results of the spring breakout game, as well as. When is the last spring training? Is it the 23rd? Is the last
spring training game? I believe is the 23rd. We'll likely go live on maybe the 23rd, 24th, or 25th.
Well, yeah, we got to do our season. Yeah, we got to do the season. Well, yeah, we got to do the season preview episode. We got to get the guests. We got to get a bunch of guests going. We got to get one big old show before the season starts.
Okay, yeah, just keep on. Yeah, okay.
Well, who knows? Maybe Mets.
Close it out.
Well,
You've done enough.
I'm getting there.
Close it out.
Again, life is great. Obviously, we're doing well. We're having fun. Hey, maybe Mets Weekly is expanding. Who knows? We're seeing some great thing. We have content coming out the air. I didn't say anything. I just said question marks. I could say everything. We're live right now if I wanted to.
He can't stop.
Besides the point.
He just can't stop.
It's fun.
Can't help himself.
Well, it's okay.
Why don't you share your blood type? Your blood type, right here.
I honestly don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
Oh, that you don't know.
I don't know.
That you don't know.
I don't know.
Right.
But
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, 12
Either
days.
Way.
12 days to opening day. Let's just get there. Let's finish this great tournament. Hopefully we get a good final. Yeah. Obviously we got Team USA, the DR, the Italians potentially in the final. Italians in the Final Four, potentially playing Japan. Yeah. And then we'll see what the final is. Maybe we get your rematch. Maybe the Dominican Republic just absolutely dog walk Team USA, and then they dog walk whoever in the finals, which could be possible, even though Paulie Skeens on the mound tomorrow for Team USA. And again, we'll be the Matt and Evan, probably Carson will be live. I will sadly not be there. Sadly, of course, the biggest game of the tournament, I will not be available. But again, have fun. We're having fun. We're getting close to the baseball. We're having good baseball now. We're getting ready to play actual meaningful MLB baseball for our favorite team, and that's kind of the fun part. Again, it's the calm before the storm, and a little bit of prospects, a little bit of World Baseball Classic, international flair is a good appetizer to potentially the last baseball season we have for 5 years.
Yeah, for 700 years.
700.
Anyways, update right now from the top of the fifth. Japan is ahead 5-2. So yeah, that is definitely going to be the winner of that game is going to play Italy, who's again, like we said, on a tear right now so far in the WBC. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching, listening. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. For those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. Like we said, WBC coverage until USA is eliminated. Who knows? It might be tomorrow. Who knows if it might be in the final? Who knows? But we are going to be finishing this thing out. And of course, Evan and Matt will be live hosting it. Maybe I'll pop in a little bit later. But either way, let's go Mets. Let's go Team USA as well. We can put that out there as well. And to a great WBC finish as well, because I think that these are going to be some really good games. Either way, we will see you guys next time. Peace out, and yeah. Bye. Love everyone. Bye.